Just the stats, Reggie Johnson, Eugene Morgan coming to you from the lovely city of Atlanta, Georgia here. And another year, another Chiefs Super Bowl, right? I mean, that's pretty much what it's been. We're kind of setting our watch by it now. You know,
Yep.
It's going to be a Chiefs Super Bowl here come February. Here at some
Death,
point.
taxes, and Chiefs Super Bowls. I think we might,
Chiefs Super
that
Bowls,
might be
man.
it right
And
there.
you know what's funny too? A lot of people hate it. I have a lot of people, man, they're boycotting. Have you heard about the boycott? Some people in my circles and stuff at work, they're like, I'm boycotting the Super Bowl, man. I'm not. I'll be there and very excited to watch it. But they were like, I'm boycotting because it's the same teams.
Okay.
It's people sometimes feeling their own parody is funny. Like, why don't you're like, I like my team, but they need to go win games and actually be here. Like, I mean, they're not the team that won the games to be here. The Chiefs are the team that won the games to be here. If you're tired of there being no parity, our teams just have to get better.
Right.
And get better and beat the Chiefs.
Right.
You know, they can't do it. It seems very hard to do. Whether beating you by 3 or beating you by 13 or beating by 30, the marks of a great team. They can win low-scoring games. They can win high-scoring games. They just do things a little better than you do them. Even when you looked at Patrick Mahomes' box score versus Josh Allen, there was things he just did slightly better, slightly more yardage. Things he did who have just slightly better. But when you look at the score differential, that's all it took. Their score differentials all year have only taken them being slightly better than you. And they've been a master at that. What are your thoughts here on that?
I mean, you right there, you set it off, right? So Josh Allen, right? They won in the yardage. They won the turnover battle. I mean, it's just, I think maybe they won even one time of possession, but it's just like they are just a team that they minimize. The Chiefs had just minimized their mistakes, and
Correct.
they're just gonna. That's
championship
really
DNA, by the way, for teams that do
yeah.
that.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it all comes down to. And yes, I mean, we can all talk about, oh, was that interception or non-interception? Right. Even okay, you if you call it a dead ball, right. If that interception didn't happen at the goal line or whatever, it's like the 5-yard, doesn't matter. It's still still gonna be first down because there was still pass interference. So I know all the conspiracy theorists. Let's get that out of the way. So it's just they're just a team that just they just bring guys out. Like, I mean, I even text you, like, even like, look at Juju, like he came out of nowhere in the game. We haven't seen him like all season.
I haven't seen him since the Super Bowl last year, man. I haven't seen him since the
right. Where you gonna like
Juju just in time? He's like, man, I'll be here when you need me, man. You know what I mean?
I mean, I'm not surprised. I mean, I feel bad for the Bills. I feel bad. I mean, because it's one of those franchises you would like to see them get to that Super Bowl.
A lot of people are rooting for them to do so.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm not. Again, I guess one of those things when we kept picking championships for the NBA until someone beats them. I'm not picking against the Chiefs anymore. I'm not going to do it. I've learned my lesson.
I have not done it, man. I haven't done it since in a couple years. I've been done in a couple years, and I've been rewarded for that. Right. They've rewarded me for not picking against them for a couple years. I learned my lesson from picking against Tom Brady a couple of times. I have to learn my lesson for picking against Tom Brady a couple of times. I'm not going to make that mistake with 15 here, Mahomes. You were happy picking Mahomes every single time. I mean, I'm even if they do lose, until he loses a couple, the percentages still say that it's still Mahomes. Like, you're going to have to want to bet on, right?
Right. And their defense, right? I mean, look at Spags. It's like, I mean, you're like,
Hall of Famer, man.
I mean, he's like, he's not going to blitz here. He's not going to do this here.
What an incredible last blitz on that last game, right? What an incredible last blitz on that last game, because he held that in the holster. Right. He didn't really show that, and they weren't blitzing a lot. It's not at the rate that he usually does. You know, there's a lot of like, we're going to have to kind of let Josh try to beat us a little bit. Like, we're just not going to be blitzing. Let him try to beat us here with his arm. And he almost did. But, one of the things to understand too, for people who are talking about stuff like the refs, because the Chiefs always, what is the refs? Or
of course,
it'll be
it's all scripted.
It's always something. It'll always be something. But at the end of the day, let's not forget that the Chiefs won against the Bills when they had like 13 seconds left last year. Like they went down and then they were able to win, go into overtime with just a few seconds. They've never needed a ton of time. So if they were left any time on the clock, even if they were left 20 seconds on the clock, you can argue that that's 7 more seconds than what they did it in last
Right.
year. Yeah. So they have the ability to score within 13 to 20 seconds if that. So you can't say to me, because anything they were talking about, none of these calls end games necessarily. They would have maybe ran more clock off, maybe more time off the clock, or maybe not giving the ball back with a certain amount of time and stuff like that. But none of the calls were like the game would have hit triple zeros if that call was made.
No.
That's the only way that you can know, in my opinion, that call would have affected the game, because the Chiefs have shown that they can score with such little time left on the clock that unless you had no time on the clock when any of these calls were made, you can't really count them out.
Right. Even the call we were talking about earlier, like the interception wasn't not an interception. Like that gave Buffalo enough time to come back and score. So it's like if it's like the conspiracy theorists, if it was like so scripted, you wouldn't want the Chiefs to be in that position to go ahead and score, because you give them the Bills enough time to go back and down and score when they had time. So yeah, it's just there's just so many when you watch the game. I mean, for me, I watched it as after we watched the beginning game when it was just a blowout, to watch this game where it was just a competitive game, very evenly matched, and unfortunately for Josh and the Bills, it's just another like, what do you guys got to do? You won the turnover, you kind of held Mahomes, Patrick in check, and you kept Kelsey. You held Kelsey, but it didn't really matter. So you did everything you were supposed to do, and you still lost. So I just don't know what's the recipe for you guys to win.
It's interesting because when you look at how the Chiefs have been winning all year, the small ball is kind of like how I would define this year for them. Like they do things, they do the little things right. So that's why when you're talking to people who say all this conspiratorial stuff, which if you're watching the game, if you're not just watching the refs, then you're seeing other little things that are going. There's a game of chess that's happening here. These are great coaches. There's little things happening. There's games within the games, and there's little things happening here that are affecting these outcomes that aren't just the guys in the stripes. You know what I mean? Like there's little things happening in the game. If Noah Gray doesn't catch that, Watson? I'm sorry. Was it Gray or Watson? Catches that 2-point conversion to make it a 7-point game, to take it to 29-29, and he catches a 2-point. So they score and he converts the 2-point conversion. Right. That's the stuff, right? Scoring and getting that 2-point conversion when you have to have it. And that's what the Chiefs season, in my opinion, has been defined by. Like when it seems like they have to have it. That's what I gotta start calling them, the have to have it team. Because when it seems like they have to have that 4th down, when it seems like they have to have that 2-point conversion, when it seems like they have to have a certain amount of yards, maybe it's the time, maybe it's something else. Maybe if they have to get out of bounds, they seem to be able to do all these things all the time. If they got to get out of bounds, they're catching the ball and they're getting out of bounds. Like it's crazy. And you may say it's scripted, but a lot of these small things they're doing well. And I do think there's something to having that championship DNA, to where you've seen a lot and that you can use against other people. We've been here several times. We know what this feels like. We know what this moment feels like. We've been in these moments in the Super Bowl. We've been in these moments, and the highest point in the season, we've been in these exact same moments. So what do you think? How do you think you look at all these other moments? All these other moments, they've been through all this before. So I think that's very advantageous for them when they can come in here and not real. They can be calm, they can come in here, and when you're looking at a person like Patrick Mahomes played, it's got to be the same sense you're getting from Tom Brady in the sense of the guy's not beat until he's beat. Like he's not done until he's done, and that's how Brady was, and it's looking like Mahomes is the same guy.
Right. And then I guess we all forgot about the opening series where Josh like almost threw like 3 interceptions like on his opening drive. I mean, how many times did the Chiefs
fumbles?
The fumbles and the drop ball. I mean, how many fumble recoveries he'd have, how many drop balls, and just that opening series where he's just like, guys, just chief players, just linebackers, quarterbacks just drop the ball. So I don't buy it. It's like you said, it's like the Chiefs are a team. If you give them 1 yard, they're going to take it. They're not going to like, okay, well, we're going to take this 1 yard.
Correct.
But
they're not.
But if you give me
don't
this,
care about the 10 to 15.
They don't. They're just going to like they're going to beat you they're gonna nickel dime you, and then they're gonna wait for that moment and just exploit that one moment, like you said, where a guy just gets open and like, oh, I'm gonna get out of bounds or I'm gonna do this part. It's so that is and it's one of those things you watch other teams, and we always say it's like, yes, we saw their point differential all year. They were like one of the lowest all year, and every other team
Yeah, it's like
had a losing
historically
record.
low.
Right. Historically low. Every team would have a losing record except them, but they just don't care. Mahomes does not care. If I get 100 yards, great. If I get 200 yards, great. He just wants to win, and that's the
a
thing.
winning DNA right there, brother.
Yes.
Winning DNA. You know.
Yeah, because
Winning.
his contract is not predicated on that. Like he like they Kansas City know what they have. They have a winning quarterback. They have a winning formula. So it's just I don't know how you beat that. I mean, I honestly thought Buffalo had their number this year. I mean, a minus maybe they didn't have the receivers, but hell, you could say that about Buffalo. I mean, Kansas City, they didn't have any. I mean, they have receivers, but
it's like you have Worthy and them coming on, but they aren't like you got Tyreek Hill or Stephon Diggs on either one of these teams.
No.
So it's kind of like that is kind of a little bit of a wash. Worthy's coming on, but Coleman was coming on at certain points. You did have Amari Cooper there, so I do think that you can kind of wash on the receiver side just because you don't have like a JJ back there or something. You know, you don't have like a stud on either side. You know, Worthy's looking pretty good. Other than Worthy's looking like the guy.
Worthy
might be a guy, man.
Right. He came in, and then you had JJ, and then you had, I mean,
Hollywood Brown looking like a guy. But that's just the thing with Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes, look at all the guys we're gonna name. We're gonna name a bunch of guys because a bunch of guys catch balls in the Chiefs offense. Maybe that's because they don't have just a one guy, and you always expect a Kelsey to kind of get his. But even little things like when Kelsey pirouetting to like 3 to 4 more yards, that stuff counts. That was like a first down. Like when he catches a ball and he kind of does that turnaround pirouette thing where he gets like 4 or 5, 3 to 5 more yards or so there. When he does that little move, those are first down plays. Those are conversions.
Right. Yeah.
Little stuff like that. It's hard to stop, Eugene. It's hard to stop.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, I get it. I understand the Bills are upset, but I mean, and I don't blame them going for the 4th down because I would have done the same thing. I have Josh Allen. Of course, I'm going to go for it the 4th down. I have the best, running quarterback probably in the league. So I just
tough play on that one too because it did look like he had the first. It was a tough play on that. Like but you don't want to ever have any games coming down to measurements. Like at the end of the day, these games are never decided by just a couple plays. No. These are hour-long games with several of possessions. And a few minutes here and there doesn't necessarily tell the entire tape of the game that they can be impactful, but it's not necessarily the whole game. And I don't know. I don't know what they can do, to be honest with you, because as long as Spags, as long as the defense, they have a decent running game now with Kareem Hunt and Pacheco.
Yeah.
They have a crazily great defense, a quarterback who can run for 10 to 15 at any given time himself. And a guy who, if you're not going to let me run for 10 to 15, I'll throw from anywhere from 5, 10, 15, 20, 30. Like it goes all the way up. Like he'll throw from 5 yards out to 30 or 40 yards out. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, it's hard to stop, man. It's a lot to stop. The Eagles do have a great defense. We'll talk more about that later. But it's going to take a Herculean effort. Right.
It really
is. It's going to take a Herculean effort to it's just, and I really think this execution, when you look at when the Eagles played them last time, if it wasn't for that Hurts fumble, maybe things is a little different, but the Chiefs can't come out looking like because you got to think about it. First possession, they looked flawless and they've been out of the game for like 3 weeks. Like you guys have not played football for almost 3 weeks. And you came out that first possession and just walked down the field. Like against the Bills defense, it's not bad. The Bills defense isn't terrible, but they were executing. And then that first drive looked completely flawless. And when you're seeing stuff like that happen and you're thinking like maybe there's going to be, is it rest or rust? It looked more like rest instantaneously than rust.
Yeah, they're a veteran team. They know what they can do. They have probably one of the greatest coaches. And I mean, we all know he scripts like the majority of the first drive, and that's all he does. And he goes, okay, he has so many counters for what you're going to do defensively. So, and he has a smart quarterback, and he has like so many plays in there. We're like, okay, I'm going to give you this, this, and this, if this isn't there, take this. And that's the thing, when you have a quarterback you can trust, it's like, okay, if it's not there, I can run for a few yards, no big deal, or I can just get a few yards, I'll dump the ball. It's just, they're so smart, and just like, it's just like, I know, I get it, people are don't like it, but what can you do? They're just playing ball like you should. They're just taking what you give them. Okay, you're gonna play zone on me, cool. I'm gonna take this. You're gonna play man on man, cool. I do have some decent receivers that have known to play man, can play jump ball every now and then. So I don't. How do you beat the team? Is still an anomaly.
It is, and as long as they're executing, and the problem is executing from so many different places. You got offensive mastermind, but you also have a defensive mastermind, and that's a lot of teams don't have both. And Kansas City has both. They have a defense back and a defensive mastermind, and so is Andy Reid on the offensive side. So you got that. You got a first ballot Hall of Famer at the quarterback position.
Mm-hmm.
And your defensive mastermind has a good defense. Sometimes you got a good guy who's got great. He might be a defensive mastermind, but not have the pieces to execute his vision. And that's not the case here. He looks like Chris Jones flying around, man. Yeah. It's just difficult out there. It's just difficult out there for teams, and I don't know what are you going to do about that. I don't know. But I do think the Eagles have a lot of good players. So that should be another good game. And they're coming back this time of Barkley to run it back. So there'll definitely be a lot of time to discuss the Eagles running it back. We will discuss that. Let's discuss a guy who used to be in Kansas City, Mr. Tyreek Hill here, who says that he just wants Miami to bring in some MF and dogs, man. That's all he wants. He wants to win. He wants Miami to bring some dogs. He kind of alluded to leaving Miami, walked it back a little bit, walked it back slightly. I didn't hear complete walk back, but not as an aggressive, a little bit more of like, I was just angry. You know how when you like say something and then you like wake up the next day and you gotta see the person or something. Hey man, my bad. I was just a little angry, upset how things going. I don't know if that's the case with Tyreek or not. It's kind of interesting because when you hear some of the talking heads talk, they bring up some good perspectives on the sense of like, maybe he's feeling some kind of way that he's not been on those championship Chiefs teams, or you leave the Chiefs and they win 2 Super Bowls, literally.
Yeah, literally win.
You left and they won Super Bowls, bro. That's gotta hurt, right? So you have that because you got to think like I'm Tyreek Hill, a major part of the Chiefs organization and what led them to some success. You leave, they have success without you again and again. And you look at your team and you might be looking around like, hey man, like this is in Kansas City, man. We're not really playing in the postseason. We need some more guys here. But I look at Miami and I don't necessarily think they're at a lack of skill players, to be honest with you. I like their skill players. I like HM. I like Waddle alongside Hill. Yep. I like Tua. Johnny Smith doesn't suck. I don't really know what he's talking about on the offense. There's not a lot of teams with a ton more skill players than Miami has.
No.
You know what I mean? So when you're saying you want more there, man, I mean, I venture to say there's more there than there is in Kansas City.
Yeah. At least on the opposite side, right?
Yeah. Your team is better than the one you left, but you guys just don't get the same results.
No.
You know what I mean? Because when you look at the defense, you look at the fact that your quarterback is Patrick Mahomes on the other side. So, of course, the quarterback there, the coach there, of course, right? The defense there, the defensive coordinator there. So I guess some of those things, but that's if you say you want some MF and dogs, I don't know. Maybe some specifics would help, right? Of like, what are you asking for? Are you asking for more? Another tight end specifically? Are you asking because that's vague, right? When somebody just says we just need better players or something like that. Like, what would you think that he's alluding to? Waddle's pretty good. Do they want a third receiver? Like, what is he alluding to?
I don't know, maybe on the defensive side. I mean, Tua again. We've gone through another concussion protocol year with him. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's not much you can do with. I mean, you've kind of locked up Tua with the money, right? So you're kind of committed with your quarterback. I thought that. I mean, I still think they have a good defense. They've got guys over there. I mean, maybe you can up that, but offensively, I mean, you kind of got your big three, right? You've got two good receivers. You got, I mean, you got a definitely good starting running back, and you have a good backup running back. I mean, it's Tua. I mean, but I'm not blaming him for the concussions, but that would be my only,
I mean, he's
but
not the worst quarter. I feel
not
like
the
even with Tua,
worst. Right.
you could do worse than that.
Right.
If you look around, you can do worse than Tua. You saw that on your own team, right? You know what I mean? You saw how when Tua went out on your team, what that looked like.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean they're putting together what they can do. I mean, you command a lot of money. Your quarterback commands a lot of money. I mean, there's only so much money can go around, and that's why you had left Kansas City, because they were not going to pay you that money. And so what did Kansas City do? Oh, we're going to spread around our offensive line. We're going to improve on the defense. And look what happened. They won championships. So, I mean, unless, again, I'm not saying you have to take a pay cut, but I mean, if that's something you want for your team to get better, I don't know what more, I mean, I know teams can get creative. They can put a lot of salary into like some bonuses or
But Shannon Sharp
guarantee.
also said that he quit. So Shannon Sharp said he didn't care what he said. Shannon was like, "Yo, when you quit on your team, he doesn't care because they said that he exited the game."
Right, he did. He
So
did that.
people are like, "Yo, no, who cares what you think about anything?" I mean, if I'm going to bring up the Shannon Sharp situation, and if we want to talk about his exact quotes when he was doing, somebody had asked him a question, he said, "I'm out. I'm out, bro. It was great
Yes,
playing here, but at the end of the day, I have to do what's best for
right.
my career." That's what he said. And then he comes back the next day and says that was spoken from a place of frustration. And
Mhm.
he says, "What y'all heard at the end of the season was frustration. I've been winning my whole life, bro. Y'all don't understand. I bust my ass every day. I deserve to feel like that. I deserve to have some kind of opinion. Y'all just want me to say, oh, well, we'll get them next year. Nah, F that. We've got to come back. We got to put some pressure on MFers. Y'all got to fix this. Come on, add some dogs in this B. I compete. I love to compete, bro." It's funny because when people say that, it makes me think, do you think your competition doesn't compete? Do you think your competition that doesn't act the same way doesn't want to compete? Like, you think your competition that doesn't display this kind of level of like, what it seems to me, a little bit of selfishness when you're like, I'm going to be out or else. Because I'm pretty sure your whole team is feeling it. Everybody's feeling these L's. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And we're all, especially
Mhm.
now, at the end of the season when you're making the money you're making, you're Tyreek Hill, supposed to be a leader on the team. He's a captain on that team, by the way. You see the
Right.
captaincy. End of the year, you got to pick the team up. I understand, but I'm a leader on this team. Now, when I go to have my one-on-one, it's going to be a different conversation. When I have my
Mhm.
one-on-one with the coach, my one-on-one with the GMs, we're going to have a different conversation. But at the
Right.
end of the year, I'm going to show some solidarity with my team. I'm going to be out there fighting with my team till it's over. And then I'm going to come handle business with the appropriate parties. But it kind of sucks that this would be the sentiment when everybody in that locker room is probably down. Like, I'm pretty sure. I mean, I would imagine. I'm pretty sure nobody's happy in there, right? If you got a locker room that's worth its salt, I'm pretty sure everybody feels like they should be winning. Everybody feels when they're not succeeding, they're not hitting their goals. So it's always funny to me when a person's like, "I just really want to win, man. I just want to win so bad that I just have to act out sometimes, man, because I just really want to win."
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're the one that kind of forced Kansas City into this hand, right? Of
Correct.
you.
And that's what
So I mean,
everybody's saying, by the way. Everybody's
yeah,
saying that you made this bed, bro. Like you in the bed, you bought the bed and you made it.
yeah. I mean, you knew the situation you're in. You knew at some point Mahomes was going to be the highest paid, whatever. So you made the decision to like, okay, I need to leave and be this again. I am not faulting you. You got your
No, man, not at
championship
all. You got your
and you
championship. You went to
bolted.
Miami. I love
And
Miami. Absolutely.
I
Got money, got
right.
paid an enormous amount of money. Absolutely. No
Right.
fault.
But again, you got to understand your situation. I mean, we love Tua. We're all SEC guys here, but
Yeah, absolutely.
he's not
Bama
Mahomes,
guy.
and
Nobody
we
is.
and he
And you left
again,
it, right? And
you
that's what
left
you left.
that you have limitations at the QB. You don't have the same guy, but you got to kind of just deal with it. I mean, 'cause I think you even like reworked your contract before this year or that year before. So I mean, what do you want them to do other than unless you want to go rework your contract again to free up some money? Again, that can always happen, but you have a good team. It's not like you're in a division that, other than Buffalo, who knows what the Jets are going to do? Who knows what, what New England's going to do? But I mean, you're still in a pretty winnable, or at least can make the wild card, but you kind of made your own bet here. I don't feel bad for you at this point.
Who can? Who can?
Right.
This is bro. Just stop it, man. Like nobody's gonna feel bad for you. It's just that you're expressing a sentiment that I feel like a lot of people. The sentiment is not exactly what I'm knocking. I'm just knocking the fact that a lot of people feel the same way, but they don't act the same way. A lot of people feel the same way, but they don't say stuff like "bro, I'm out." They don't take themselves out of game. You see what I'm saying? Like a lot of people feel that way. They just go about it like mature adults who are in captain positions. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's kind of like the knock more so there than kind of what he's saying. All right, you want to win. I don't know people who wouldn't necessarily want to lose. So I get it.
Great.
Let's go to our guy here. Brian Schottenheimer. And I love his dad, Marty, by the way. Done wrong by the Chargers. 14-2 that year. I want to say the year that he got fired. I've never forgot that, by the way.
Yep.
I've never forgot that. And I don't know if they've been that good since, by the way. You know what I mean? They were very good. They have some teams. Those Phillip River teams are pretty good. But I'm digressing. I can go on about Marty. I talk about Marty quite a bit. What is this? His son, right? Rashad and Brian's his son?
Yes, he is.
Okay. So this was interesting in Dallas, right? Very, very underwhelming. And no knock on Brian Schottenheimer whatsoever. It's no knock on Brian Schottenheimer. But if you tell me you're going to let go Mike McCarthy, you're going to have all this Deion Sanders talk. And this is what happens. It's just underwhelming. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's just underwhelming. Like, it's not even a knock on Brian. Hope he does good. I'm not going to wish you not to succeed, whatever. But it's kind of like all that for this.
Right.
All that to keep a guy that we have anyway. It was weird. It's kind of, remember our team at the Falcons coaching search, very similar. We searched. I was like, why even bringing the Belichick thing? It was we were front page news, all that stuff. And I'm like, if we were going to hire who we ended up hiring, who had already coached on our team before. Why all of the fuss? Why even bring Bill Belichick? You see what I'm saying? Why all the stuff that you already got the guy's phone number? Hit him up directly. Like, hey, bro, let's run it back with the team. You know what I mean? And he was like, yeah, absolutely.
So what are you doing this weekend?
And that's kind of like here. Like, you want to run our team? Yeah, absolutely. He might have been walking around there anyway. Who knows? A lot of people live in Atlanta at some point in the year. So it's kind of like you might have bumped into the guy. So it's kind of like at the end of the day, why go with all of the headlines? Why take up so much oxygen in the media space to come to an underwhelming result? And I view that similarly here. Like we rounded the Deion Sanders circle, which I felt was never going to happen anyway.
No,
by the way,
you and I both agree. We wanted it to happen because just for content.
Absolutely wanted it to happen.
Absolutely,
yes, we wanted it to happen. But then it becomes not necessarily by the Deion. Even if you take the Deion Sanders situation out of it, it becomes like, did Mike just want to leave? Because why would I know you did not run Mike off for this?
No,
there's no way.
There's no way,
right? I mean, am I crazy here?
No, I was just, when you said that to me, I didn't even know what was going on. I was like, what? Like, I didn't even believe you. I had to look it up. Like, there's no way. There's just no way if all this is going on.
It's unbelievable.
Right. You had Mike McCarthy. Listen, whether you like him or not, McCarthy's at least won a Super Bowl. I mean,
he's not terrible either. By the way, he's a coach that wins like 50 to 60% of his games. So let me look him up here, but I'm pretty sure he wins about 60% of his games.
You are right. No, that's the thing. You cannot listen. You could talk about McCarthy is a guy that's going to bring. If you have talent, he could stabilize your talent, because we've seen so many teams that have talent and they're like you have coaches that come in and don't know what to do. McCarthy can be a guy that could come in, and even this year, again, if you look at the season. I mean, they should have been. I mean, they were not. Again, they weren't a good team. They weren't a bad team, but they should have been really worse off than where they were at and where they ended up at. And he kind of held the ship to where, like, oh wow, with everything that happened, losing how many defensive guys he lost, how many offensive guys he lost to be in that position, and you're like, oh, I think we're just gonna let you go. And here's the thing: Schottenheimer might come in and do a great job, but I just think like I think I texted you is like Jerry just did not want someone more famous than him. That's really what it came down to. My thought. He didn't want that, and he didn't want Dion. He didn't didn't want McCarthy because maybe McCarthy was getting a little bit ahead of him in the press and all that. Maybe so. I just think it's if you look at this the last coaches he's hired, it's all been guys that just not been taken.
That will acquiesce, you think?
Right. Yeah. Just not guys that just kind of because Dion, right? Dion comes in, he's a spotlight. He is a spotlight. And I always remember there's one thing where Jimmy Johnson, and there's an old story where Jimmy Johnson had knew that he could not be a coach with the Cowboys anymore. They were going to let go of like some just second, like a tight end or just like a throwaway player. And it wasn't a big deal, but Jimmy was going to go have a press conference about it. And Jerry went ahead and did it before him. And that was Jimmy was like, oh, I know I can't be here because this is always going to be a thing. And this is where I think where it becomes apparent where Jerry's just he's always going to look for someone who's not going to be bigger than him.
Jerry says everybody's so wrong about the Cowboys hire. He says, it's interesting. He said, I know I get my proverbial blank kicked over needing people in my comfort zone. Without this thing being about me in any way, if you don't think I can't operate out of my comfort zone, you're so wrong. It's unbelievable. This is a big risk you could take. This is as big a risk you could take. As big a risk you could take. No head coaching experience. Let me share something with all of you, or with you. With all of that, you just heard him reference his osmosis, his family. Anybody in this room that doesn't believe the apple doesn't go far from the tree has missed it someplace down the road, especially if there was an effort to make it that way, and there was an effort. Okay, I get it, Jerry. I get it. But here's the biggest problem I think that any organization has, and this is any organization. This isn't just football related. If any organization is built to please one person, it's not going to be successful. Like, you can't have everything. There needs to be some kind of mission. If the mission is to win, is it to win games or is it to please a person? And sometimes those things, like, of course that person's pleased if you win,
right?
But you have to win by them being pleased. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like that part is going to be non-negotiable for you. The winning, okay, but me being pleased, bro, I'm going to have to be with anything that you're going with, So when you look at Mike McCarthy, just to bring up his stats here, by the way, Mike with the Dallas Cowboys, 58% winning percentage. Coaching overall, he's a 60% guy, but he has won in 3 of those years. He won 70%. So when he very first got there, he was 6-10, but then he went 12-5, 12-5, 12-5.
Yeah,
and then 7-10 this year, but he had an injury at the most important position, quarterback position's injured. You're just not winning games.
Yeah, and
you fired a guy.
The guys too. Yeah.
Now he was in while he was there, the offense was in top 5 the last 3 years, and their quarterback's injured this year. So like, what do you do with that? The guy is just not a bad coach. I don't understand if you're a coach and you're looking at what's going on here in Dallas and you're saying, hey, to yourself, that last guy won almost 60% of his games. He won 58% of his games. It was not enough. 6 out of 10 games, the guy was going out there winning, and it's not enough.
Right.
What do you think is going to be for you? Like, your team is not looking like the guy went 12-5 last year.
Yeah.
If you go 12-5 next year, you still have to do that 2 more times to be the last guy.
Unbelievable.
There needs to be like a championship here, or this is going to look very stupid. Like this, there needs to be more playoff success. Something needs to happen that didn't happen for McCarthy for this to not just look like a step backwards. Because for one, McCarthy's not a bad coach, and I don't understand coaches who win 60% of their games being available. It's just strange to me.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I don't
like
either.
Two tenures.
Yeah. Again, like I said, we can debate whether you like him or not, but I mean, like you just laid it out there. I mean, the guy wins 60% of his games. He comes in, he stabilizes your team. And by the way, you gave him no running backs this year. You gave him 0 running backs, and I mean, God bless him for
as soon as Dak is over, it's over, right? Like, let's just keep it honest in this league. I mean, unless you really have a lot of belief in Cooper Rush, you know what time it is when your starting quarterback goes down, guys. You know how this league works.
Right.
He didn't have a prayer. And look at his division. Two of those teams were in the playoffs. Two of those teams were in the championship game, the NFC championship game, and they're in your division. What do you expect him to do with no quarterback? That's what I don't understand is unrealistic expectations from coaches. And this is yet another unrealistic expectation. You're looking at your team. I'm not sure what you're looking at. You're looking at a team that didn't have its quarterback. And you're looking at a team that's playing in division with 2 amazing quarterbacks.
Right.
Come on.
And then you bench your second string so he doesn't get he doesn't get his bonus.
They said he didn't want to get the bonus because he would have hit. They said he would have hit it if he had gone in, man. But that's ridiculous. So stuff like that's ridiculous, you know?
Yeah. So again, you're shorthanding him with a chance to even go win another ball game you're going with third string quarterback, who we all kind of were still maybe not on the fence, but on the fence with, with Trey Lance, but we kind of know what we're looking at this point. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. First of all, if you wanted another coach, you started the carousel so late, you might as well just brought the guy back. And then you're like, well, I guess, this is the last guy I have. He's on our staff. We might as well go with this guy. So it was just, I don't get it. It was just, I just think it was just half done from the moment it started. And it's like you had a guy, you have a guy that's stabilizing you. Again, he may not be the guy you want now, but he's at least making your team relevant, legitimate, competitive every Sunday. So why not just keep him? I mean, there's nothing out there. Right. And if you have shot,
it's just not his fault. It's just not McCarthy's fault. And then it's consistent. You know how I feel about consistency when it comes to coaches. I love it. I love coaches. I love teams that will give their coach time. I love it because it to me, it just shows that the organization is stable. Only unstable organizations are firing their coaches year to year. They're like only your dumpster fire organizations do that. That's why I was very disappointed in Jared Mayo's situation with the Patriots. I, as much as I like Vrabel, you can't do anything in 1 year. Like you can't establish a culture in a season, especially if you've had a losing one up till now, which is why I'm here. I'm here because you had a losing culture. Now you want me to come in and change things and establish a culture within a calendar year with players that are on contract that I didn't sign. You know what I mean? That are on contracts that I didn't negotiate. But I got to get the blame for the results. And they yelled. It didn't look so bad to me where I felt like 1 year was warranted. I felt like there were some games where the Patriots showed life, and that warranted at least another season for me. Now, once you get to 2 to 3 seasons, if you just don't like it, and plus we don't always know all the details. That's why I reserve going all the way in on these decisions because I'm not in those hallways. I'm not in the offices. You don't ever know what other issues are going on behind the scenes. So, as a general rule, people changing coaches every year is a dumpster fire. And I will give Jerry this. Jerry doesn't do that. He hasn't shown to do that.
He does at least commit to guys. Yeah, you got to give him that. I mean, he does commit to guy for. I mean, look how long he gave to Jason Garrett. I mean, Jason Garrett got
the
way more rope than the Clapper.
Jason Garrett, the Clapper, man. Rope. Yes, absolutely. Jason the Clapper Garrett, man. And he got a lot. And he was 500 guy, man. Mr. 500, right?
Mr. 500, man. He kept that 500 record. He got it, man.
He's very consistent. He was a consistently 500 guy. You know?
He was.
And he kept him around for a while, you know.
Yeah, but to your point though, it's like college does that, right? College will bring a guy in and go, "Hey, we know you're losing majority of your recruits because it's from the other guy. We know you got to build it up." And it's like I don't And sometimes NFL will do that, right? They'll give the guy a chance. Even with Mayo, it's like you gave Mayo nothing. Like you brought in, like Mayo had all these restrictions, they had all this cap space, and they bring any players for him. It's like, okay, here's a quarterback, it's your future, but we're not going to give you a
Who
running
in the
back. We're
world
going
is
to give
he
you zero
throwing it
offensive
to?
line.
Right?
We're going to give you no receivers, no tight end. Go. But you have a somewhat of a good defense, but see what you can do. It's like that was like the most. I mean, it was like, we all knew kind of when Vrabel was going to be the free agent, but you're right. We don't know what Mayo could have been. And I mean, he could have been good, he could have been bad, but you didn't even give him a chance. You didn't give him a situation to be even good or competent. You didn't
Right.
give him
Like
some.
you can't even, like, it's an incomplete to me. Like when you do this
Right.
to coaches, it's an incomplete to me, because what would anybody done with this? Like, what would you expect
Right.
Bill Walsh to come and do with this? Look, the kid doesn't have anybody to throw the ball to. You know what I
No.
mean? Like
No.
you're in a
Nobody.
division. Your division has Tyreek Hill in your division, Garrett Wilson
Right.
in your division. These guys are in your division. No matter what you think about the Jets, at least they have players: Brees Hall, Garrett Wilson, right? And they added
Exactly.
Devontae Adams. What are you guys doing? And it's kind of like there's no. It kills me, because this is kind of the situation that Bill Belichick is kind of going into here with UNC. Could you imagine being the guy before Belichick with your $4 million NIL spend?
Right.
And then Belichick comes in with a $20 million NIL spend, and you're going to have your results compared to each other. Like some people don't know that Belichick's going to get 5 times the resources that the guy got, right? To come and build a team.
Right.
And you can look like an all-star, right? You can like a superstar. You came in there, you changed the organization, but you got 5 times the money to do it. And the thing is, it's kind of like, that's what's going on here with the Patriots. There's just the cupboard's just too bare to know how good he is versus Vrabel coming in here now. You know what I mean? Vrabel comes in. I got to look at some of these contracts now, see what kind of heads up Vrabel may be getting. He's going to be getting Bo Nix in the second year, or not Bo Nix, Drake May in the second year.
Drake May. Mm-hmm. And all that cap space.
It's just going to be a better situation. It's going to be a better situation. And they're going to be compared, though, to each other. And that's just a game. This Patriots isn't a unique situation in that. But just when coaches get fired and move around and stuff like that, and you're really trying to compare X's and O's, you look at people like McCarthy out here win 60% of the games. I just don't feel like there's much more they can do than go out here and just win most of their games.
Right.
Let's talk a little bit about Jimmy B here, man. Let's go switch to basketball.
Oh, Lord.
Let's talk about Jimmy B, man.
This guy.
About the goth Jimmy B up for this one. I don't think he's not rocking this no more. This was an interesting situation, because where does he go now? Like, does he go? If people are been placing him with the Suns, but Bill has to go if that is the case, right? I don't know if there's any reality where Bill can stay on that team, and Jimmy come to that team. So, and Bill has a no trade, I think, which
he does.
If I'm Bill, I mean, I got to look at, I might be going to Miami. Miami's not a bad place to go. I'm just going to put that out there. It's not a bad place to be. So if I'm Bill, I'm at least kicking the tires on that. I heard he turned down the Chicago Bulls. He said he's not waiving it for the Chicago Bulls, though.
No.
So what's up with Butler here? You think there's really any opportunity? Because he came back for a second here, and I thought that I didn't know if things were going to mend. That he had sat down, and sometimes when teams suspend you indefinitely or suspend you for any amount of time, in my opinion, they're not looking to really bring you back into the locker room. So I was shocked to see that he came back to the locker room anyway. That was kind of a shock to me.
I was too.
So the fact that he was a distraction, or they feel, I can't even say he is a distraction. I don't know. But the fact that they feel he's a distraction again just confirms what they thought 7 days or so ago.
Right. Exactly.
7 to 14 days ago. He's the same guy. He still wants to leave. You know what I mean? To me, it's obvious that you just shut him down and you kind of try to find a trade partner. Still Jimmy Butler. You probably still have some value somewhere. But where? And
that's the where. Where do you put him with that contract?
It'll have to be a swap,
know.
Right? Like you have to be a swap. Also I'm hearing De'Aaron Fox wants out of Sacramento. So I don't think that a Sacramento Fox situation works out. But hey, man, if you could 1-to-1 that thing, man, I wouldn't mind getting back a De'Aaron Fox for anybody. To be honest with you, I'm a De'Aaron Fox fan. But where I'm imagining he wants to go to contender, I'd imagine. I don't really know what he wants. Can I just be honest about that? I don't know what he wants because at the point now where Jimmy is like going into the where maybe would it be his fifth team? His next team would be his fifth team. I think he's been at least four, right? We got Timberwolves, 76ers, Chicago Bulls, and Miami Heat. That's four.
Yep.
You go somewhere else, that's five.
Or five.
If you were to go to five, I'm just looking at the four now. At least two, because I got to look at Chicago and the 76ers, but at least two didn't like or will be because of behavior issues. That's 50%.
Yeah.
Will be because of some behavior issues that you have.
Right.
What you're going to have to decide as a team then is if it's worth it, right? Are you close enough to where you feel like Butler would add enough on the court to take what you feel like you may have to deal with off of it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, I keep circling back, but the only team that really makes sense to me that could absorb it and like let him go at the end of the year would be OKC. But why would you want him when you're the number one seed in the West? I just don't know. And I get maybe Denver, because Denver needs kind of that next scorer, but they don't really have the assets to give up. So I don't know what the team is, because you've got to make up for that, because you got to be in that championship mind. I think he's at $49 million salary. So you got to be like, okay,
yeah,
I bring him in, and then I'm going to be over, like, maybe I'm close to that first or second apron. And do I want to bring him in for this? Am I close to that championship? I don't know where he goes. That's
also
my thing.
Contractually, what does he stay? Like, he's probably gonna want a new contract where he goes, right?
Right. He wants a new contract, or does, and I keep hearing the thing, why won't he just pick up his player option with Miami and then really force their hand? But again, I don't think he wants to do that. I think he wants to play out this contract and get his last, like, that 2 year the last 2 year or 3 year deal, like maybe a 2 year or then that player option for a third, or team option, or whatever it is. So, but I don't see. I mean, I think we get traded, but I don't see the trade, and that's the thing with this new thing going on with it's like you got to really invest in. When's the last time we can remember? Was it 2021 playoffs, 2022 that he's performed? Right, like
that's
Jimmy's
his
been
biggest
Jimmy,
issue there, you know?
right?
Yeah.
And
that's the thing is having this issue and not being at that form, right? So having these issues, I should say, and not being in playoff Jimmy form. You're having these issues and you've been lightweight injured in and out of the lineup with these issues. It's different.
Right. Not even being available, right? That's the thing too. So, like, okay, so I'm going to give like multiple first or seconds and maybe a couple players for this guy who I may or may not be available. I just look at all the teams in the East and all teams in the West. It's like, I think I'm good. I think there's other, like, when Fox comes. Well, now we have Fox. I think Fox wasn't even in the conversation. I would want Fox over Butler 10 times out of 10.
Probably like 10 out of 10. Yeah,
10, right?
Say, bro, you can go ahead and put that 10 on there, Eugene, because that's what it's going to be. You are going to take De'Aaron Fox 10 out of 10. If nothing else for age. And for age alone, right? Because what are those players? I mean, there's got to be at least 5-10 years difference between the two.
Yeah. And I have 2 years with Fox. And then I've got the bird rights after, I think, the second year, and I still can get him at a pretty good price.
27 for De'Aaron Fox. Right?
Yes, it's like a no-brainer. Yeah. So I don't.
Butler here. Jimmy Butler's got to be 35. Yeah, it's an 8-year difference.
Yeah,
it's an 8-year difference. You take it for the 8 because Jimmy Butler, like, if this was like a LeBron James KD situation, you're taking them to like 37. Like, you're going to take them over almost any player. But if he doesn't have that kind of production, and the production difference between Butler and Fox isn't so immense that no matter what, you don't look at that age difference. You know what I mean? Like, the age difference will be the tiebreaker there every time for me.
Yeah. I mean, I did hear Butler for Paul George, but it's like, Oh, so
Yeah.
I'm
I
trading
mean, what are
to
you
Tress
doing?
Hack
Trading one issue for another? Like
every other?
if I'm
Right.
Paul
So
George, yes. I go to Miami and just sit on their bench in Miami. Yes, absolutely. I would want to do that. You know what I
but
mean?
it's right. But Miami doesn't
What?
do that.
And you're not gonna go back to Philly. Like, no. I don't see Butler going back to any team he's already been on, in
No,
my
no, I
opinion.
don't either. I agree. I just don't see it. And I just think it
The
might be
Paul
one of
George
those things.
situation is interesting, though. I mean, that's interesting to think about. I mean, if they
Yeah.
feel like Butler's the one that got away and they want to kind of make amends for the Tobias Harris situation, run it back with
Yeah.
Jimmy, maybe something like that. I don't know if he left. I don't think he left the 76ers on a bad note. I just think they chose Tobias over him.
They chose Tobias over him. That's why he's always said that. You guys chose this guy over me. So but that makes but again, here trading him to a below 500 team, I don't know. Is that what he wants? I'm
I mean,
still
can you really at this point, if you're a team, are you really being rewarded with reacting to what players want these days? We should just do a
no.
show just on that alone. Like, were you really rewarded by reacting to what players want? Because when you look at your franchise, they'll go sit off on a beach somewhere, your franchise in tatters and ruined for the next 3 to 4 years, still paying them money. Like, when
Yeah.
you got to look out for your franchise, bro. Like, end of the day, we all got jobs to do, right? Agents got to get you the most money. I got to look out for the franchise. I'm looking out for the franchise. And some of these decisions, Jimmy Butler at $50 million with being in and out of lineup the way he has been, it's just going to be hard to swallow for a lot of teams. I mean, I think that's just the reality of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just like, we're probably not thinking of a team and that something will happen, in the next
It
couple
should,
weeks.
I think, because a lot of people have the dead money anyway. Like, so if you already got a
Yeah.
guy that you feel like you can kind of switch your guy with, because we brought up the Paul George situation, if you got a guy that you probably feel like that money is sitting there anyway, and maybe you just swap the two, give them both a different change of scenery and see what happens.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you're paying the money anyway. And I feel like if some teams are in that situation, we might be thinking about it like, why would a team pay? There's also guys who are also sitting and taking this money themselves. And maybe you figure out a way to kind of switch those situations. Maybe the new surroundings for either guy ends up working out, So I
Right.
definitely think that they're in the NBA, when you have guys that are talented. Look at Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons is getting multiple opportunities. Like, you're going to get opportunities over and over and over again. So I don't think that this is Jimmy Butler's last game, you know what I mean? Or he just put out the pasture at all.
Oh,
35,
no.
he can play for another 3 to 4 years if he wants to. I'll see if he stays healthy, but he can play for a few more years. It's not like it's over. So I can get him seeking that last few year contract. I don't think that's crazy. I just think that teams are going to balk at him not being playoff Jimmy and this happening.
Yeah. I mean, they're again, somebody's going to pony up. Someone's going to do it. We're not going to we'll be a little shocked, but we won't be shocked. But I mean, if I'm
I won't be shocked because I think it's going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's going to happen because you are already guys. Look at all the guys that are around. Look at all the guys that have jobs. Like, I just brought up one with Ben Simmons. Look at all the guys that have jobs. Like, and they're not better than Jimmy Butler, in my opinion.
No.
So he deserves. If they have one, he deserves one. I just don't know how many teams are going to be jumping to pay that number, especially if you're a contender already, or maybe if you're a contender, those guys are probably playing on your team, right? So if you're a contender and guys are making that money, you're probably playing. It's usually the teams where somebody's making that money, but they're not necessarily in the lineup consistently, where a team is not doing well. You know what I mean? So we'll see where they find that partner at. This is Just the Stats. Brady Johnson, Eugene Morton. Check us out. Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you find your podcast. We will see you next time.